Hey, this is a video about the process of getting this and this to this. We won't be talking about how to use a DAW like Ableton, but we'll be talking about the process from having an idea in your head to having a finished track on Spotify. So in my mind there are 5 stages for this process. First you have a song concept, then you have a feedback iteration stage, then you have 3 and 4 happening simultaneously, which are cover art and mixing and mastering, and finally the 5th step is you have it distributed. So let's go ahead and go through these steps and what they look like. So I usually either have a song idea already in my head, kind of like music of my soul that just wants to be expressed, or I'll find some interesting melody or chord progression while messing around on the piano. When the first one happens, I quickly whip out my phone and take like a really embarrassing beatboxing or drop beatboxing sort of video, and then I'll like upload it to Google Drive. So to go from step 1 to step 2, you need to build something to get feedback for, which requires going to Ableton or whichever DAW you're using and composing your idea. Now the purpose of this video is absolutely not to teach you how to produce a track. I would recommend the We Suck at Producing channel, or You Suck at Producing I think, and watching producers you like working on tracks on Twitch is also really helpful. But there are lots of ways to learn how to express that idea or that musical idea you have into a basic concept, but that would just take forever. So you've built out this basic idea and you've exported it and now have this wavetable of the song idea on your computer. Well, now I would recommend uploading it to Google Drive or maybe making it a private track on SoundCloud and getting feedback on it. I guess before we go forward, it's helpful to talk a bit about feedback and why it'd be helpful to get it in the first place. And first, it's not a mandatory step. It's probably like the only one of these that you really don't have to do. But I think, especially for a young producer like myself, it's really valuable to have other ears listening to your music who might pick up on things or come up with ideas that you would not have. Ultimately, it's your responsibility to make something that sounds super good, I think, to yourself primarily, because you're the only guaranteed listener to your track and you're the only person you can guarantee will like it. And so my philosophy is that you should just focus on doing that. However, feedback is helpful in that maybe an element you didn't pay attention to could be really distracting to someone else, and then you listen to it again and realize, oh yeah, actually that had just kind of slipped under my radar, but that hi-hat sound is not actually that cool, or like those snares are mixed way too loud, or yeah, actually they have this interesting concept about the way the bass automates, and I think that could be way cooler. So feedback can be really good even if ultimately you're trying to create a sound to your own taste. You have to know to take everything with a grain of salt, of course, and kind of remember that, okay, maybe this person thinks that would have been cool, but I love it, so I'm not going to change it, and that's okay too. So how do you go about getting feedback if you want it? Well, there are a few ways, but the one that I'd recommend is joining a bunch of producer Discord channels, which often have feedback for feedback columns. And this is helpful because you can go and review other people's tracks and kind of practice critiquing and listening for what you like and what you don't like and what can be better mixed, and then in return receive feedback on your own tracks. And so it's kind of a win-win situation. So there are probably way better ways of organizing this, but for feedback I drop everyone's comments into a Word document, what track they're giving feedback on and what their name is and when I'm getting feedback on it. This kind of helps me like go through and check off things that I'm changing or choosing not to change. So at this point you've gotten a bunch of feedback and you're happy with your track. What next? Well, it's time to now get some album art or single art or EP art, whatever you're going for. And if you feel inclined, this is something you can make yourself on Photoshop or just use a photo or anything to represent your music. And so you might know a friend that you can work with to make an album cover Or you could go on Fiverr or Upwork or some other gig website and find someone to help you make album art. Now that we have step 3 done, you have a solid track, you have a solid album cover. In the process, you definitely want to go through the mixing and mastering process with an audio engineer. And what mixing and mastering is, that's when you send your audio stems to someone who went to school for audio engineering or is otherwise really qualified to take each of the stems and equalize them and adjust them and maybe trim the timing a little bit in a way where everything just kind of hits right and it all fits together really well. And the music, literally each element of the track blends and mixes together beautifully. So usually you'll have a friend or you'll find someone on Upwork, or you can look up local audio engineers in your area. You'll send them your music and reference tracks saying, okay, this is kind of the volume and the feel I'm going for, something similar to this other track. And then they'll work on it for you, kind of getting it to a professional level. Chami and probably other producers say that a really good mix can't salvage a fundamentally poor song, but a bad mix can cripple a really solid song. So at this point, you find someone who can mix and master your track, you send it to them probably for a few weeks or so, and then you get it back and it's time to release your track. Well, I'd recommend using some sort of CD Baby or Distrokid or even the SoundCloud repost to get your tracks out there. There are little differences between them that you can research and find which one fits you best. That would be the way. You just go and you upload your track and your artwork and you wait a few days and boom, your concept is on Spotify and you're listening to it in the car with your friends. That's pretty cool. Yeah. Also, if you're curious to check out some music, I make music. You might want to check it out.